Ho, ho, ho. Welcome to Slightly Off Script, the marriage show where we remind you that marriage can be stupid good and wicked fun. I am one of your hosts, the elf of the day, Bethany Needham, here with my favorite Santa Claus of all time ever, no competition, Andy Needham.
Where are my milk and cookies?
Well, you told me you were trying to eat healthier, so you're getting the carrots and lettuce.
Carrots and lettuce,
reindeer.
my goodness.
Hey, listen, Vixen loves that stuff.
Vixen.
Yeah.
I am not.
Is that one of the reindeers?
I don't know. Can you name the reindeers? How many? No.
Rudolph.
Donner, Blitzen,
Oh,
Comet,
Blitzen.
Cupid. I don't know. That's about all I got.
I'm probably making up names. Listen, I can name my disciples, but I don't know my reindeer.
Ooh, Jesus juke. Nice job. Merry Christmas, Bethany.
Merry Christmas.
Do you like Christmas?
It might be my favorite time of the year.
I mean, Easter's supposed to be your favorite if you're a real Christian.
Oh, and Easter, that's why I said it might be, but obviously
Next to Easter.
next to Easter, Christmas.
Okay.
You know what? There would not be Easter without Christmas.
It's true.
So, bam. I feel like that deserved some sort of
A sound?
I'd like a clap, a like.
Is that
You know
what you're
what?
looking
Never
for?
mind. You're
Okay.
done with the sounds. So this is our special Christmas episode.
Indeed.
I'm not going to lie. It has surprised me in the best of ways that you were down for doing a special Christmas episode.
Well, we have to put out content every week, so
So it was desperation.
that sounds like very cynical, but
Yeah.
I'm happy to do what makes you happy.
Yeah, apparently, because you're wearing a Santa hat right now. I don't even think our listeners, unless their name is Shauna Stevens, I do feel like if Shauna watches this, she is going to understand with me the growth that this is for you.
I have said this already, but I love Christmas. I just don't love all the same exact things that you like.
AKA holiday hats.
I'm also not someone who's been lying on the podcast about my childhood.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Someone did have a Christmas tree. I would like to report.
Okay. Hold it.
Can you get your traumas straightened out, please?
It's all a little confused right now. Okay, yes, I do have a confession to make. And it wasn't an intentional lie. I was so focused on the plastic baby Jesus. Honestly, for all of the callbacks that he's gotten, I'm now nostalgic for a plastic baby Jesus. I'm going to go find one. But there was a point in time where, if I remember correctly, the paint started to peel on this plastic nativity set. And I am assuming that is when we got rid of it and traded over for the real Christmas trees. So I did, in fact, have real Christmas trees at some points in my childhood. It did start with the plastic nativity scene, which eventually, with the paint peeling, created these images of a Mary and Joseph that will haunt my nightmares for eternity.
I feel like our childhood, one thing that might be similar is that we had like seasons where our parents would have like very strong convictions about certain things. Like for me, like Halloween, some years it was like, we're not doing Halloween. Other years we are doing Halloween.
Whoa. You had years you were allowed to do Halloween?
Well, it was so that we could hand out tracts. No, I'm just kidding.
You were that house.
No, but just, I think you had, so it's sometimes like you're saying like, oh, we didn't have a Christmas tree. There may have been a time when that was true, but it wasn't necessarily your entire adolescence.
Yeah, and
Is that
truth
fair?
be told, I actually don't know that it was any sort of conviction. I think the plastic nativity scene was sort of their way of keeping us focused on the real meaning of Christmas.
Yes.
Plastic baby Jesus.
No.
But I'm kind of curious because when I was thinking about Christmas, I realized that there are certain things I don't even think I know about your. So I want to start a little bit nostalgic before we go into the here and now.
As we do.
As we always do. So one of the things is different families do this different ways. But if you were a family that did presents, did your family put the presents out under the tree before Christmas? Or was it one of those things where they kept everything hidden and then Christmas Eve after you went to bed?
Yeah, I might be off on this because I don't remember that being like a clear distinctive, but I think a lot of the bigger gifts we would have like would come out. Like I remember one year we got a computer with a CD-ROM drive on it.
What?
And that was like set up in the morning when we woke up and it wasn't under the tree. So yeah, so probably more on the hidden, and then everything shows up. How about you?
I actually have some pretty fond memories of presents that were hidden that came out Christmas Eve. And so here's what I remember. In our house, one of our houses in Canada, because I grew up in Canada.
Eh?
I know, eh? So in Canada, we had this couch that sat in the living room that had a heat vent behind it, you know, the ones on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would, not just Christmas Eve night, but I remember Christmas Eve night, would sneak down and basically sleep behind the couch on that heat vent, like not a lot of space, but squished between the wall and the couch. But I would do that so that I would be hiding there when my parents put the presents out and could see it, like, because honestly, they sort of broke the news about Santa probably the day I was born. We didn't mess with the whole Santa story.
We were not a Santa family. Like I'm probably going to get in trouble for wearing this hat, actually, but
yeah,
it's okay.
I'm going to tell your mom you're grounded.
Well, just like I was the kid that would like tell other kids that Santa wasn't real. And then there's an epic story about Josiah, our son, when he was in school, like getting in trouble. We got a phone call from the school because he was rallying the entire, was it kindergarten or first grade class, like against like.
Boy, he was in kindergarten. Okay, this story is worth retelling. First of all, it started because he was telling kids on the playground. And we got an email that said, listen, this has been happening. It's upsetting kids. You need to talk to your son about this. So we did. We sat down with Josiah. We're like, listen.
Don't make a big deal out of this.
Don't make a big deal, which, sorry to rewind. I'm just going to state this. We actually approached it from the deciding what to do about the Santa thing with, we're going to wait till the kids ask. We're not going to lie to them, but we're also not going to go out of our way too. And Josiah was like 3 years old when he was like, is Santa real? And I was like, that went differently in my mind. So by kindergarten, we'd had this conversation. He was making all these kids upset. We get the email. We have the conversation. We're like, listen, we need you to you can't talk about this at school. He's like, okay. So anyways, I get a call. I have to go to the school this time, meet face to face with the school, because what happened was his school, which was kindergarten to third grade, I think, or
the lower elementary school.
Lower elementary, had a, this is terrible. They had a all school assembly. And during that assembly, something interrupted the person leading. Not for very long, but long enough the teacher had to step out for a moment. Just long enough for our son to stand up and ask the entire student body, it wasn't a massive school, but still a kindergartner, be like, I would just like to take a vote on who thinks Santa is real and who does, like, this was his moment. And
we're going to solve this problem through democracy.
yeah. And he accidentally started a whole thing.
A revolution.
These assembly got out of control. They had to dismiss the assembly and send kids back to their class. And then I get called into school because our son started a revolt around.
I know how I feel about this now, but how did you feel about it then?
I was really deeply so proud as a mom. The leadership that this showed in Josiah, but also had the most awkward interaction with his teacher.
Yep.
Who I got scolded by, and she explained to me how she had to pull Josiah aside and tell him that Santa was real and that basically this was her way of dealing with it. So I then had to have an awkward conversation with a teacher about, do you actually believe that? Because if you don't, then you just lied to my child.
Yep.
If you do, okay, that's a whole nother conversation for another day. So that was a pretty epic one. But honestly, pride. I wasn't even mad at him. I mean, I did have to like fake get him in trouble, but I was not mad. How did you feel?
I think the same. I mean, there's always a part when you get calls from the school. I remember other times where like you're kind of like embarrassed yourself more than like for your kid. But that was one that I think we're both on the same page. And that thing about like them telling kids like you want them to believe the facts about history, but you're going to lie to them. Like I don't know. That was a little bit of a lazy
Yeah.
way to handle it.
Well, and 5-year-old Josiah made a good point when brought to the office. He said, I was told to not tell people that Santa did not exist. I didn't tell them. I asked them
what they thought. Yeah. I'm just doing what you should be doing.
Yeah. So, yeah, props to him. Shout out Josiah.
Socratic method at kindergarten level. That's pretty incredible. So,
All right. So the tradition, I'm curious, I'm sure other people have other things, that feeling of presents just show up, which I feel like is actually kind of more magical, even though I haven't always stuck to that. The other one I want to know about is stockings. Did you have things that where this was something you could bet on would be in your stocking every single
there's
year?
definitely one thing, and my siblings will know it right away.
What?
There's always an orange in the toes
Same.
of the stocking.
Yeah. What was with
I
it? 'Cause
think it
had the
just,
same
I don't
thing.
know what the tradition comes from, but like, I think it kind of gives it some cheap weight. It's
Okay.
inexpensive, like goes down the toe and then you start, it kind of holds up if it's hanging up, or ours we usually just kind of in front of the tree. But
I
that
want to
was
know how many of our listeners, especially, maybe it's a generational
couple
thing.
things. Stocking, typically a toothbrush.
Ooh, yep.
That's another one. Probably some sort of candy item of some variety.
Okay.
Trying to think if there's anything else that should kind of like lifesavers. That was a big one. Like the multi-fruit flavored lifesavers,
Yes.
which I don't even know those exist anymore.
That's a
Like
good
I see like the mint ones, but like the fruit lifesavers, that was a big one.
Yeah. It's basically like Fruit Loops, but in candy form.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Those were the big ones. And we would do the stockings Christmas morning. I think similar again. We talked about like our parents changing things. But there might have been times where we did them Christmas Eve. But usually Christmas Eve was like we would go to Christmas Eve, went to the church, Christmas Eve service. And then there was a family in the church that always had like a big like appetizer hangout thing. And I loved that because like they had like the best, like the Swedish meatballs and that like jelly sauce stuff and like the little hot dogs.
Yeah.
All those little.
Vienna, that's what you mean, the Vienna sausage things or something?
Yeah, something like that. I
Yeah.
don't know. But things that did not like that was not in my family's. Like it was like ooh, and then scallops wrapped in bacon.
Oh, kind of fancy church people you got.
There was always that one family. They drove the nice
probably
car.
kept their Triscuits if they bought the wrong box.
They were making their own Triscuits.
Oh, fair enough.
But that was scallops wrapped in bacon. That was one that like
Okay.
I kind of had to like they had to guard me against that because it's to this day. Scallop is like my favorite
Yeah, you'll
seafood of
pound
all
scallops.
time, which
Yeah.
makes me think we should do that for Christmas. I should.
Yeah, no one else will get any. You're going to eat them.
yeah,
That's the
that's
problem. Okay, so I'm on the same page. We had the orange, which now I'm super curious about that one. We had toothbrush was another one. And then, yeah, some candy. I remember gum a lot, stuff like
Yep.
that. So my only other one in terms of nostalgia that was yours as a family that when it was time to open gifts or stockings or whatever, was it sort of a open season,
No.
like in the movies where all the kids run and they just rip open stuff? Or was it, all right, it's Andy's turn. Everybody watch Andy open his gift.
So it was always one of us at a time. And part of the reason I remember that is I think I was around 9 to 11 years old. I have a very memorable Christmas when I had the flu. Terrible.
Oh,
Like I was running a 104 to 105 degree temperature. Like I ended up going to the hospital and they tried to do an x-ray and I passed out getting an x-ray. And that was
that's
later.
the saddest Christmas.
That was the saddest Christmas, but I remember like being on the couch, it's Christmas morning. I'm still like, you're young enough at that age that you're still like kind of in it. It's not like teenage years where it's like, I'm going to sleep in.
Yeah.
And I just remember them like handing me gifts and like having this like exhausted indifference to like,
You just didn't
like,
even feel good enough.
I didn't feel
That's
good
so
enough to like,
sad.
yeah. And so my Christmas gift was that I got to go get an IV.
Oh man.
Yeah. So that was probably one of my most memorable Christmases, but
And most hydrated by the end.
by the end I was feeling I think eventually my fever broke, but it was one of, having the flu is one thing, but that was like, it was a pretty serious flu getting up to the 104, 105. So
All right. So you did the one at a time. Honestly, my family was the same. I kind of wonder if it's just part of us
not
us
having a lot
poor
of money.
people
Yeah.
that didn't have a lot of gifts. We're like, we need to stretch this out.
Open each lifesaver one at a time and
Yes.
savor it. We'll watch you as you suck on it and see how it goes.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I have my most memorable.
I think I know the story, and it's a great story.
It's a great, Dad, if you're listening, just don't worry about it. I've worked through this in therapy. But my memorable is it was just my one brother and I were still at home, and he's only 13 months older than me, so we're pretty tight. But my dad, he must have gotten, I don't know for sure, like a Christmas bonus or something. Maybe someone in the church gave him some extra money. And so because of that, he was like, I can actually get my kid something really nice for Christmas. What I remember is Dad coming to me and saying, hey, so, for whatever reason, I'm able to do a little more at Christmas than normal. What is something you would really like? And I don't even remember if I said anything before he's like, wouldn't you like a nice boombox? And which,
what is a boombox?
yeah. So basically, how do you even describe a boombox now? So it's a CD player and a cassette player. No,
With
I'm
big,
not.
Big speakers.
With big speakers.
Yeah.
You can like carry it on your shoulder.
I'm sure you were doing that in rural Maine.
Not at all. This was still in Canada.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're in Canada, and I remember him being like, wouldn't you like a boombox? And I honestly did not like listen to music at that. So I was like, no, like I have zero interest. And he had said it a couple of times, like, but it'd be awesome. It's like a boombox. And I was like, yeah, no, that's so.
One other thing that you need to mention though is that at this point, so you're one of 5,
yes,
but essentially your closest sibling is Nathaniel, who's just a little bit older than you.
Yeah. So Nathaniel had he really wanted an electric guitar. That was his.
As one does.
Yeah, obviously. And so he had asked for his electric guitar. I, to be honest, have through therapy managed to block out what I actually asked for.
Probably a Cabbage Patch Kid.
Yeah, to replace the ones. We're not a story for another day. Christmas morning comes, and Nathaniel, I remember he opens it is a like, oh my gosh, you're the musician, the speaker,
amp,
thank you.
Amplifier. Yeah.
He opens the amp. That's how they did it. They wrapped the amp and they hid the guitar under the bed.
That's pretty brilliant.
Yeah. So it was, of course, he's like, yeah, and like runs and pulls his guitar, and it's awesome. And so I'm getting pretty excited because I'm like, sweet, this is my Cabbage Patch. Not really, but you know what I mean?
Whatever it was you asked for. Yeah.
And so then it's my turn, and I open up, the boombox I never dreamed of. And I was like, and I remember thinking I didn't want to seem like not
ungrateful.
Yeah, ungrateful jerk. So I was like, wow, thank you. And yeah, it was just, it scarred me, man. It scarred me.
It's tough when I remember being like in my early teenage years, and we had a great grandma, Morin, who was, we knew like she's older. She would mail all of us like a gift, and I'm like 14 or 15, and I get like the 4-pack of Crayola crayons and like a coloring book. And you're like, yay.
Yeah. All right. Quickly before we go on, defense of my dad, I do think that we did determine because I've talked to him about this story, and in his best as like remembering it, his thought was the only reason it happened was because when he came to ask what I wanted,
he'd already bought
the boombox.
I think people, as a parent, you kind of see through that. You're like,
yeah. So it had already been purchased. So basically, it was not asking what I wanted. It was
the
talking
Jedi
me
mind
into
trick,
wanting the thing that had already been purchased, which unfortunately did not work out. But it's fine. I got into music. I got my first CD of all time, Jars of Clay.
Oh yeah, the original, the first one.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
And so in the end, and now I lead worship with you. It's probably, you know what, looking back, that's probably what God used to introduce my love of music now. So thanks, Dad. After all,
a true redemption story.
Beauty from ashes.
A redemption story. So speaking of music, Christmas music.
Oh, okay.
Right. So
I have mixed feelings on this, and it's probably not gonna sound good.
Give your hot take. That's
okay.
Right.
Hot take. You can not write me about this. I don't love a lot of the Christmas music that we sing at church.
Ooh.
Christmas is not my favorite time to be asked to lead worship.
Well, anyone who's a worship leader, they probably agree with you.
Okay. Well, but here's the thing. I actually love Christmas music. So I love cranking out. Pentatonics is one of my favorite to listen to Christmas music. I love some of the classics, but here's my reason. I am a low alto, and I find that the Christmas music that we sing in church all throughout December or whatever is often in keys that I cannot dream of actually singing it. They're not fun and they're hard to sing. And so that's as someone who's obviously a Christian, I'm basically saying I don't like the church music.
As a church musician too, like oftentimes like you have kind of two paths to go down. You have like the carols, which some of them are very like they just are not similar to more contemporary music. There's a lot more complicated and more frequent chord changes. And so and then transposing them can be difficult. So you have that difficulty.
Yeah.
And then, or you go with the modern versions, and some of those, like there are some good, I think there's some gems in there, but there's a lot of like, I would call try hard contemporary Christian worship songs for Christmas that are like, that's not great. So anyway, it's okay.
If you had to pick a favorite, Carol
or...
Do you have one?
I mean, I think "Oh Holy Night" is
that was mine.
Yeah, I'd actually really enjoy. You've let that one, and you do a great. We have to, start it very low, but
yes, I started as a man.
No, but a great "Oh Holy Night" would definitely be. I'm trying to think of other ones.
I like "Joy to the World."
What child is this? That's another good one.
Yeah, Mary, did you know?
Ooh, controversial. Thanks, Mark Lowry.
Oh, I love it.
He's still making plenty of money on that one. I have a least favorite Christmas song, though.
Oh, what is it?
The Paul McCartney "Wonderful Christmas Time."
Wonderful.
Simply having a wonderful Christmas time.
Okay.
I like the Beatles. Paul McCartney is brilliant. I hope someday to get to see him before he passes away in concert. I've heard it's amazing. It's not a knock on Paul McCartney, but that one, or what's the one about Last Christmas? That's definitely another like low.
Yes, I Gave You My Heart.
Oh my gosh.
The very next day.
The worst part of that song is like it's an earworm. Like it is a song that I don't like.
Oh, and it gets
stuck in your head. That's the worst. That's like the combination. A bad song that you can forget, I can get over, but a bad song that you can't forget.
Yeah, oof. I'd rather listen to "Grandma Got Ran Over by a Reindeer" on repeat than that song.
Ooh.
So, I mean, sorry, Grandma, but
sorry, Grandma.
I'm just saying. Okay, here's what we decided to do for this episode. Because we were debating on where should we go with it. And I was thinking that it won't be a super long episode, but talking through, we've mentioned our values. We've gotten through them: community, authenticity, mission, play. Just asking the question, how do these fit in? Like, where do they show up during the Christmas season for us? So I wanted to start with community. And yeah, in terms of community, and this is not nostalgic, this is the here and now.
Yep.
Where do you feel like in terms of where we press into intentionality with community? Because Christmas time gets crazy. There are a million things going on. So what does community look like?
Yeah, well, I think one thing like we've learned, like our family get-togethers, they're changing. Like this year, our son's coming a couple weeks before Christmas. But one thing I would do is we've kind of de-escalated the food production, like for our family get-togethers. Like when we get together with my siblings, typically it's not on Christmas Day. And we actually changed that. It used to be on Christmas Day, and we changed that. But we just do soup and bread. And that's a really fun, like it's tradition now. Our kids actually, I usually have recommendations for I often do like a seafood or chowder kind of a thing. My sister makes some incredible soups, as does my mom.
Broccoli cheddar.
Yeah,
Mercy always wants that.
Yeah. But we just decided like Thanksgiving we'll go full feast mode, but we kind of just like everybody brings a soup and then it's plenty of leftovers, but it's a really special one. So I think like finding when you have these get-togethers, like we sometimes put like undue pressure on ourselves that can rob us of community rather than just experiencing like the basics of things. In a similar way, like even gift giving with the family, and we'll probably talk about this a little bit more later, but we've had to change how to do that over the years as we've had more nieces and nephews, and you get so caught up in how those things operate versus like just being together.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think finding ways to take the pressure off has been a huge one. And some of that pressure being obviously the production of it, food. Some of that is just sharing the load, like letting, if you're going to do soup and bread, everybody's bringing soup, everybody's bringing bread. Not one person is cooking for everyone. And then finding what works in your, different seasons are going to look different. I'm a huge proponent of be flexible every Christmas season, even Thanksgiving, that you come along as your kids grow, if you have kids, and even as just your life changes, and is be willing to, if you put too much, like grab hold of these things that this thing has to happen on this day, there can be beauty in that. I know a lot of people that do that really well, but then to be honest, I feel like I'm going to be just hot takes all day, having people angry. The more of that I see, the more times I see that go sour, where it just puts so much pressure on people that we do this every year, then we have to do this thing every year. And I just think sometimes in terms of community, that this should be a time where you're coming together as community, and that can often be divisive in community where it's just people got a lot going on. So be gracious.
A simple example, like we typically have hosted my extended family at our house for Christmas. And for us, it was not a big deal to do like Christmas morning with our kids. And then around noontime, people show up in the afternoon. But it became, as my sister had kids and as my brother had kids, that they have other extended family. And second, they wanted to really have Christmas, like the kids, like, hurry up and open your gifts so we can get out the door. I don't remember. I think both of them at different times were like, hey, we can't do both things on the same day. And I was like, cool, that's fine. And if it's a week before or even after, like sometimes we've done it after Christmas, I think those can de-escalate the break. So how about authenticity?
Authenticity. This is a big one. I've got a few on this one, to be honest. The first one that comes to mind is, and I marked it down as like mental health during the holidays. I think authenticity of sometimes Christmas. I love Christmas, and obviously we've mentioned that a lot of times, but there is a side of the holiday season that can be really challenging, and it can be hard for people. And there's a lot of reasons behind that, but I mentioned the mental health because, again, my own journey has been in years where I've wrestled with depression in particular. This has actually been a season where at times, now, honestly, I'm doing okay right now, but there have been times where this has been some of the darkest, even though I love Christmas and I don't 100% know why, but this time of year, I really struggled with depression. And for me, the authenticity of being honest that it's not all, yay, everything is awesome, I feel great. And that ties back to taking the pressure off of things. There's been years where we've had Christmas where I've had to let go of some things that maybe in previous years have been, things that I've loved to do, even the level of decorating that I do.
So yeah, I concur. I think the mental health challenges can be real. I think, we talked about how a lot of people will say it's a really busy season, which often is. Then there's the other side of it. When there are times when you may have a season in life where you're not busy, or you're missing somebody who was sitting at that table a year ago. And I think being real and authentic about that. And one of the things that we have done, we've invited other people into our Thanksgiving and into our Christmas. And we've had many Christmas times where we've had people who are single or people that are living away from family, young families that are, like their grandparents are all the way across the country, and just welcoming them into our traditions and into our home. And so I think that's another way that we can just be aware of other people that may not be experiencing everything in a euphoric, everything is awesome kind of a way.
Yeah. Yeah. When you think about Christmas time, there are just a lot of things that if you let them can add pressure into people's lives. Obviously, financially, when you're in a season where gift giving is a common thing. And so what does it look like in terms of, I think about authenticity. Like, I think when we enter Christmas, we need to be real about, okay, between us and our marriage, where are our finances at, based like realistically with stewardship, what is this season going to look like? And we've got grown kids where for us, we've had to be authentic with them. Hey, this year, this is kind of what this is going to look like, You're getting a boombox. No, just kidding. But whatever it is, just
you get a podcast studio.
Yeah, exactly. But in some ways, I think being authentic about that and not having this pressure to either we're trying to hide that or pretend that does not exist is part of the authenticity during Christmas time. And then the other one that's a big one, and I know a lot of people face this, and we have at different seasons, is tensions within family.
Yep.
anytime the holidays come, you're talking about gathering family, people coming together. I don't know a whole lot of families that don't have at least some level of dysfunction and tension that likely is going to bubble up.
I mean, at least your family.
True. I don't know anyone else's family except for mine. No, just kidding. Yeah, it is a reality, and sort of being able to walk in that, especially in marriage, for us to enter that in a way that we're being real and honest. And whether it's me, like, hey, we're going to gather together. This is something that I'm feeling the emotion of, and being aware of each other's needs. And the fact that even if you're having a great time, there are other people that this season isn't necessarily bubbling up all the joy and laughter and fun and fond memories. Like, there's a lot attached to it.
I think the more you can do expectation setting, like I know like this year with our kids, like we said, like, you know, they're going to set us their wish list, and it's going to be the moon and the stars and, you know, a Tesla. And we're and we're going to be like, how about a Matchbox car? You know, like, and just kind of being in that expectation setting will help you through those type of things, those conversations. And then with mission, I think, you know, I kind of already touched a little bit about how can you expand your table? How can you invite people into the things that you're doing? There may be some sacred spaces that it's like, hey, this is just for our family, but we have had a lot of joy through that. Anything else you would add on the mission side?
I feel like my theme around Christmas time is how do you take down the stress level as much as you can to really enjoy and be present. I think in our marriage, this is something that I have come to appreciate, is learning where each of you maybe has strengths in just parts that go into. So I'll give specifics. You are a very good gift giver. And this is one of those funny things in our marriage that oftentimes people think of the wife or the mom being the one that does all the buying of the gifts and everything else. And I feel like the guys always get this bad rap for like very last
Christmas
minute.
Eve out on
Like don't know what to get. And again, there are guys out there, you know, up your game. Come on, sir. But you are actually the opposite of that. You, in fact, I know, keep note files in your phone throughout the year when things are mentioned that you're like, oh, that'd be a great gift idea. And which, pro tip, if you're listening, that guys, if you need, like, keep track of things, listen. And so that
look at your wife's Amazon search history.
Whatever it is. But because of that, you have taken the bulk of that in terms of, even for the kids, you've been the one that has done the gift purchasing.
However, I am terrible at wrapping gifts.
Yes. And I love wrapping gifts. And so
I actually have had Bethany, like, I will put her gifts into a box and then she will wrap them.
Yeah. But again, because I literally sitting and wrapping gifts and watching Christmas movies is my jam. So I wrap my gifts.
Plus you want them you want like a coordinated tree typically. Yes.
Yeah, typically. Until last year when I let Mercy
just go nuts.
Choose the theme, and she, knowing how much I love a matching
aggravated
tree,
you,
said, I want your theme. This was like I don't know if it was a test of my love or what, but it's her
sense of humor.
Yes, it is. She literally themed our Christmas ugly wrapping paper that was not allowed to match, that she had to choose. And I did it. It was painful. And I'm not going to lie, I hated it. I hated seeing it under the tree, but it was what it was. And that's what I wrapped. I wrapped all the gifts. I even wrap other people's gifts for other people. That's how much I enjoy doing it.
If you live in the greater central New Hampshire area, you still have a few hours left to send Bethany a direct message, and for a small fee, she will.
For a small fee, I will wrap
your gifts for you.
Wrap your gifts.
That's really good.
But just in terms of that, you love to cook and meal prep. I actually like the cleanup after. So even in hosting, sort of sharing the load of what this holiday season can bring. And because for me, if I had a list of things that I had to cook for family coming up, that would really stress me out.
There are times when I'll be like, hey, can you help me with this?
Yeah. Well, there's that give. And that's why I say, not that you get to only do things that you love, but sort of finding those things where you can find the things that are life-giving, and that there is no gender roles in this. It, like, if the husband or whatever, the dad is the one that likes to buy the gifts, let him buy the gifts. Like, figure it out and find a good rhythm. And
it works well for you. So
it works. It works. I just let them.
Well, and I also take the pressure off. Like, another thing, like lowering the expectation, is that I'm just someone, I'm a researcher. Like, I like oftentimes, like last year, I remember you bought me something and you're like, this is a perfect combination of things. And I'm just particular. Like I am super particular.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was like, I had probably the same expression opening up this thoughtful gift you had as I did opening up the 4-pack of Crayola crayons and the coloring book. But we've had to be okay with like, we just got to make a joke of it. And I'm like, yeah, it's not a big deal. Like,
between the two of us, there can't be offense. And
No.
I know that you're hard to buy for. So honestly, if I get something you like, I
it's
feel like
crack the code or something.
I have cracked the
And you
code.
have done. You've gotten me some great gifts. So I don't want to knock that in any, but I don't really like, to me, it's not, I like giving, if I'd rather research something and find the perfect thing that I want. And the research is part of the joy for me. So the surprise is not as big of a deal, but anyway, those are some things. And then,
in terms of the mission side,
sorry,
I'm
I
just
keep
gonna
taking us off track.
No, that
I'm going slightly off script. Merry Christmas, everybody.
ho, ho, ho. But all of that, it does tie in because there's a side of it Christmas time where being on mission together as you are serving one another, serving your families, being intentional about that in terms of getting involved in things and helping really bring down the stress level for each other.
Can I give one action item that I've encouraged people to do?
Yeah.
Because the Christmas season is a joyful but a really challenging season for church staff, support staff, for worship leaders, for pastors. And obviously, if you want to get them a gift or something like that, that's always awesome. I'll just say this. Send them a nice email. Send them a thank you gift, just a thank you note. Say, hey, thanks for creating a space where we could focus on Jesus this Christmas. Don't have to be extravagant, but I would just say like one part of your mission, have that Barnabas spirit in you to just remind people of the gift. Because, you know, what looks like a really simple Christmas Eve service sometimes takes months of planning to pull off.
Yeah.
And so appreciation to all of those church staff. And if you work at a church, I hope you get some time off after Christmas. And if you're on a board, give your staff some time off.
But also give them cash money.
Okay. Yeah, that also
they
helps.
probably have a kid that needs a boombox, and you're the way that's going to happen.
That's good. That's awesome. How about play?
Oh my goodness, we could go forever on play. But recently, we did this for the fall, and then I just started one for the Christmas season. Is creating a bucket list. And the reason I've seen a lot of people do this, and this isn't about adding pressure to the holiday season. But it's actually
how productive can we?
Yeah, it's not. That is not what this is. What this is I have found that I will come up with these things that I really want to do. But then if I'm not intentional with it, then I'll get past the season and be like, oh man, I never got to do that, whatever it was that I really wanted to.
Yep.
And so in the fall, I decided we have a whiteboard in our hallway downstairs. And I literally took those things that I have thought every single fall, I want to do this thing. And it was things like one of them was apple picking, baking an apple pie. There was like one particular place that like a fall market, things like that I didn't want to miss out on because life just got busy and we missed it. And it was actually awesome. I found that when we had a few hours free or a day off, it gave us this thing to look at and be like, hey, what thing do we want to do on this? And they were all fun things.
I think it actually motivates. Like we wanted to hike a 4,000 footer. I don't know if we would have done it if it wasn't on the list.
No.
Because
And then
we debated like even that day, we're like, we want to do this. And then it was one of our best days this fall. So
it was awesome. So we did it again for this holiday season, and we're actually about to go knock some of those off this weekend. I'm so excited. And these are not, I'm not talking like expensive, crazy, extravagant things, but what are the things that if you're anything like me, when you get to the other side of the season, you'll be like, oh, I forgot to do this thing. Like put it on a list where everyone can see it and see how many things you get to check off in your.
Someday we'll do the Christmas with the Cranks cruise. We'll actually go.
But yeah, so the bucket list.
Could be your favorite movies too. Like we have some favorite films that we like to watch every year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holiday markets are fun. Christmas lights. You love to drive around and see Christmas lights.
Just easy things to do. Christmas movies.
Yeah. And I mentioned this before, but like now that we've had more, the cousins are older. Shout out to my brother-in-law, Josh, because last year, we had kind of been doing like we'll buy for your two kids and swap thing. And that is fine. But as it became more kids and then the dollar amounts were growing, we're like, how can we do something different? So we it's sort of, I'm not a big fan of Yankee swaps. They typically they're just debates over the rules. That's just a personal hot take for me, but Yankee swap, white elephant, whatever you're going to call it. He created this like multi-layered Plinko. He built this like Plinko board where they were like dropping things down and what it went into. They got a gift card or like he did it. It was pretty amazing. So just, if there's somebody in your family who's really creative, like letting them loose on things too. That was, I was really mind blown. I thought he did it remarkable. I mean, we'll see what happens this year, but
now he's set the bar.
He's set the bar. I mean, it was like The Price is Right was going on in our living room. It was pretty awesome.
It was great. And it was nice because it involved everyone.
Yes.
It was like the grandparents down to all of the kids. Like everybody was involved. It was like gift cards, things that anyone could enjoy too. And there was trading going on and all sorts of fun. Yeah, that was awesome. The other one that has been something, we have not done this every year, but it is something that's been when a really good movie comes out.
On the Lord's Day.
On the Lord's Day.
A theater?
Yes.
A dark theater?
Yes. This is probably one of those things because I grew up not being allowed to go to movie theaters. So it was...
The Chosen Five? Is that what we're going to see? Or?
No. So a really good movie. I'm not going to judge people, whatever. It's between you and the Lord. But Christmas afternoon, at least for us, with older kids, often you kind of get into that lull where you're tired. It's Christmas, so like nothing's open. What are you going to do? A few times now, we have, as a family, even with grandparents sometimes, gone to see the movie that's playing on Christmas Day. And that's been like the later Christmas afternoon. We go see that, whatever, late matinee. And that's been a really fun one.
Absolutely.
Honestly, half of us usually fall asleep. Yeah.
Right here.
And by half, I mean Andy falls asleep. But we've seen some really good movies. And it's just kind of a, I don't know, get out of the house, do something together.
I don't even know why I do it, but when I fall asleep during a movie, when I wake up, something like, it's like a reflex. I have to pretend like I wasn't sleeping, even though like for you, you're like, you were just snoring terribly next to me. And I'm just like, oh, yeah.
I was about to say the best part of that is you absolutely do that. But my favorite is you also instantly start snoring when you fall asleep.
There's no, it's like a switch goes boom.
And
I'm down.
So it's funny when you don't sleep for very long because you'll snore for like
a minute.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you jump to, and either you'll say something like,
wow, what a great part of the movie.
Yes,
I don't even know. It's not like I'm like missing a sermon or something like
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, except when you're watching The Chosen, basically.
Okay, there you go. Same thing. That's good.
But yeah, no, that is actually hilarious. And I'm glad that you acknowledged it because I find it funny when you go from like snoring for 30 seconds to then it's like you were jumping right back in the conversation. I was like, you for sure were just sleeping. But
100%.
At least you don't do it when we're talking. It's when you're watching movies. So I know that I know of.
That's why I get to edit the podcast.
Fantastic.
I have to pay attention now because I'm on video. So like, I have to kind of like be like, okay, get
keep
my
your
game face on. Yeah. People who know me well probably can watch me and be like, the gears are turning because I'm thinking about the next thing. But it's all right.
So true. Any other ones from Christmas?
I think this has been great. I wanted to say thank you for the gift of being a listener. It's been awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And we're excited. We'll be back next week and we're going to do some stuff. We're excited for episode 7 and beyond that. We're going to keep going and we appreciate your listening, following, subscribing, all the things.
And can I just ask I feel like I want to ask for a Christmas gift from our listeners.
A little close here.
Well, listen, you can actually do it even if you're listening to this on Christmas Day. It really does mean a lot for us as we're growing this when you share it. Like if you're on your social medias,
sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. And that would be hugely helpful for us because the people that we might not know. And so again, if it's helpful for you, if it's helpful for them to share that, taking the time to leave reviews, our 5-star reviews, all that, it just helps for people to be able to find us. And then I'll never stop sending out the subscribe.
You will stop because we'll hit 500.
No, because I'm going to make
We'll have a new goal. We'll have a new goal. The next goal is for Bethany. That's going to be for sure.
I will dance all day.
Oh no, it's not going to be dancing. I'm working on some ideas.
Oh gosh. Awesome. Well, let's get to my goal first and get Andy dancing. So 500 subscribers on our YouTube would be huge. So that would be my Christmas ask. I don't want a boombox. Don't send me one. I don't even know if you can buy them anymore. I just want for you guys to help us in sharing this and even your feedback. When you comment on things, that stuff actually is helpful too. So, and lastly, sending in if you have questions or things you're like, man, it would be so helpful if you guys could do an episode or a series on whatever it is. Let us know. All of these things are helpful. So we're learning as we go.
We are learning.
Yeah, but this has been awesome. Thank you guys for listening.
Merry Christmas, everybody. We will see you next week.
Merry Christmas.